Hi everybody, it's Alicia Barlow, president of Tell Somebody Inc. And this is my college music teacher. And 2 weeks ago when school first started, I gave him my business card and I told him that I have a nonprofit to stop child abuse. And as I was leaving out the room in front of other students, he actually blurted out that he was also a survivor of child abuse. And that's why I love my movement, because anywhere I go, I can connect with other people on a positivity out of something that happened so negative. And I wanted to commend you for talking, because I posted millions of survivor stories and only about 8 of them were men. So it's really uncommon for men to come forward. So when a man does come forward, to me that's just real heroic and brave, and I know you're gonna give strength to other men to come forward.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, my name is Casey, and my story is similar to, I think, a lot, where I grew up in a very religious household. And I went to a Christian school because I was a troublemaker and caused a lot of trouble when I was young. And to try to keep out of trouble, they put me in a religious institution. And I was molested by a teacher at that school. It was a female. I was very young. I was about 11 at the time. And it was, obviously incredibly traumatic. And it's, I think the biggest challenge for me was that I trusted my teacher so much. I think as often we find ourselves in positions where the people that we trust and love the most and look up to and want to respect and look for guidance can be the ones who take advantage. And so I was put in a position where, in order to maintain, a relationship where this teacher cared for me and taught me, I had to keep this thing quiet. Luckily, I had a best friend growing up who felt like something was uncomfortable or just not right, and kind of started snooping around and was able to actually call the police and let them know, and he really is my hero and my savior to, because I don't think that I could have gotten out of it on my own, but luckily I had him as a real angel to step in and say, this is happening and you need to know, and he needs our help.
So did she abuse you when you guys were secluded away from other students? How did that happen?
Yeah. So part of it was that I was left alone a lot, and didn't have a lot of transportation or opportunities to get to and from places, and so I often was reliant on public transportation or rides or things like that, and that's how she got an opportunity.
Did she tell you to keep it a secret?
Yeah, she said that I would, that it would ruin her life, if that it came out, and that I was the only one she could trust, and that I had to keep it a secret, and that, no one would understand.
How long do you think it went on for?
It was about 3 years.
About 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow. So when your friend called the police, what happened after that?
My friend called the police, and immediately the school found out and fired or asked her to resign. She left the school. She was still part of our church, and unfortunately was still involved in the church for a while afterwards.
So you still had to see her
afterwards?
I still had
to see her, yeah.
So how did your mom and dad take the news, or even, feel about you being at church and seeing her still?
Yeah, well, it was complicated. Because my father was the pastor. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that he was very busy and caught up in his own kind of expectations on him as the leader of that church, that he didn't quite see it. And that was really the tragedy, is that it was a thing that got overlooked because there was neglect.
So after that happened, you kind of just went on with your life, your parents didn't continue to talk about it, or you didn't go through counseling or therapy or anything?
I didn't. No one talked to me about it or gave me any advice on what to do, and so I felt really shameful and felt like I had to keep it to myself. I had lots of panic attacks and anxiety attacks throughout my childhood, and then throughout high school growing up, and then finally when I was about 18, I was at I don't even remember where it was, but there was a guest speaker who was a counselor, and said that if anyone wanted to talk with them afterwards, that they could talk with them after the show. And I went back and I shared with them for the first time what had happened, and he gave me so much comfort and really let me know that there was nothing to be ashamed of, you know, and that, like, he gave me my power back, and really, I feel like in a lot of ways taught me how to get my voice back. And from there I went into therapy myself, and kind of just tried to understand as much as I could about it.
Did it affect your adult life as far as even like dating and getting in relationships?
Absolutely, yeah. It definitely, you know, anytime, you know, sexual abuse happens, I think that it can play a, you know, especially at a young age, can play a very drastic role on our sexual experience and the way that I think for myself, it was more that how I saw myself, you know, and the ways that I, you know, felt ashamed of my body and, you know, of the things that had happened. And it really took a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy to go through and find, you know, to make a peace with the fact that sexuality was a God-given thing, that it was a thing that we should celebrate and not be ashamed of.
Well, tell them all the positive work that you're doing now, and even about your play and taking your story and, you know, making it. Yeah,
absolutely. So I found music right after I was molested. I didn't know how to express what I was going through or what was happening with me, and so I really felt like the best thing to do was just to play. And I started singing and playing, and as time went on, I was able to, you know, practice and get a lot better. And then I became a professional and started writing songs. And from there, I really was drawing on my own personal experiences and, you know, from my past. And I wrote music that ended up getting placed on television and film. And then I wrote for a show called Criminal Minds.
Oh, I know that show.
Yeah,
Wow.
So my music has been featured on there.
Wow.
And I recently was offered a commission to write my life story into a musical. And so that's what I'm working on now. And that should be going up at the American Conservatory Theater sometime in, I believe it's fall of 2020. So
What's it called?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm still trying to figure that
Okay.
out. I'll have to come up with some clever name. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys know in the future
Yeah.
so that you guys can be aware of that. Yeah. So if you could tell survivors anything, what would you tell them?
I would say trust that you are worth so much and you are so valuable, and nothing that anybody has done to you can ever take that away. You have a kindness and a sincerity and a truth and an honesty inside of your heart, and that's the real, you know, like that's the thing you have to hold on to, and know that all of your fighting and all of your pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and, you know, coming against the odds, like, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Keep going.
It's all worth it. Get your power back and tell somebody.
Tell somebody.